friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to another video, and welcome back to a video where I talk all about books I am absolutely obsessed with right now. I love talking about books, obviously, and there's nothing better than getting to just absolutely gush about books that make you so happy. And I chose to sit down and film a video today talking all about books that are truly just like the lights of my life right now, things that I'm just so happy that I read. And literally, if somebody asked me what my favorite book was right now, one of these books would come up. So I'm hoping to start filming these videos quite regularly as I continue to read more books and obviously new favorites come. But right now, these are the books that I have read relatively recently that I am absolutely gushing over. So without further ado, let's get into it. So of course I tried to pick singular books, but I couldn't do that. So for a lot of these, I just picked the series so I could talk about them as a whole because honestly, it's the series that has got me down bad, okay? Okay, so let's talk about Kennedy Ryan because at this point, she's becoming my brand, my whole entire personality. And I want to talk about the Grip trilogy by Kennedy Ryan. These are the Steamy LitCon special editions, so these ones don't usually look like this, but I figured I don't get a chance to talk about these very often, so I want to talk about them. Sorry you can see my fingerprints all over them, gross. But this is actually the last book in the series. This is still book 3, and then you have Grip, which is the first full-length novel, and then Still, which is the novella. I'm sorry, Flow, which is the novella. And this series just has a special place in my heart. I love these books so much, and these characters truly are just written so spectacularly that they will burrow a place in your heart and just never ever get out. And this follows Grip and Bristol. Grip and Bristol meet for the very first time in an airport in LA. She is coming down to meet with her estranged twin brother. He is unavailable to pick her up due to work, so he sends Grip to do so instead. And they end up spending quite a lot of time together, and during that time they have some intense chemistry that they just cannot ignore. However, Bristol is going back home in just a matter of a few weeks, and Grip doesn't really want a relationship, but things are just undeniable, and they end up starting a very small relationship, but things kind of hit the fan at the end of the novella that kind of tears their relationship apart, and you come back in the full-length novel Grip 8 years later as they are trying once again to find a way back to each other. Grip is definitely a character that is an absolute groveling main character, and he will stop at nothing to get Bristol back in his life. He realized that he made a mistake, but he wants another chance, and it is an absolutely phenomenal romance between the two of them. But once you get to Still and you see the end game for these two characters, they're just nothing better than their relationship and how much they persevere to get to the end of their happily ever after. And if you have not read this, I highly recommend it. That being said, the third book does have some intense trigger warnings, so please check that if you need to. But oh my gosh, is this not just the best book I've ever read in my life. The best romance for sure, and definitely my favorite book of the year so far. Since we're talking about series, let's go ahead and talk about the Ravenhood series by Kate Stewart. Me and my friends have been in a literal chokehold with the series for the past like 6 months. Probably less than that, but it feels like forever. And this series truly has just, it's got something in it. Crack, I don't know, some kind of drug, but it is absolutely phenomenal. Now I know the series is not going to be for everyone. It's very confusing and convoluted when you first get into the series because there's a lot of secrets and lies that you aren't privy to until you move further into the series. But when you get to the end, it's just so worth it. If you're ready to go through pain and heartbreak and absolute devastation, then I highly recommend it. But if not, maybe don't jump into the series. But when I tell you that the pain and heartbreak and devastation was worth it, I highly recommend it. This one follows Cecilia as she comes back to her town where her father lives to spend some time with him. I believe that she has to spend time with him and work at his plant that he owns in order to get her inheritance. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong about that. But during that time when she's working there, she runs into a man named Sean, and they start having a relationship together, and he introduces her to a man named Dom. And it is a relationship that's happening between the three of them as a group, but it definitely changes a lot from there. I would definitely recommend keeping your mind open when you go into the series, and just be ready for your brain to just absolutely fall out of your head because it is just, it's a lot, but it's also just so heart-wrenching and heartwarming and beautiful and sad, and I don't know how to properly explain the series, but it is so good. It is definitely one of my biggest obsessions to date, and I cannot wait to do a reread. Let's just keep the series trend going. Let's talk about the Chestnut Spring series by Miss Elsie Silver. Oh, ma'am, what did you put in these? What did you put in these? They are so good. Literally, there are a few things in the world right now that are better than these romances, and I am just living for it. I'm eating them up. They're fantastic. I have completed everything that's currently out in the series, all the way up to Powerless. I'm sorry, Powerless was on the, wait, Reckless, what am I talking about? Reckless, which is on this side. I'm so excited for Hopeless. Like, literally, give it to me now. Give it to me yesterday. Give it to me 2 weeks ago. Like, I need it. And that one is going to be the last and final book in the series. And when it's over, prepare for tears, because I will be crying. Not tears of happiness. Okay. But I am really excited for Beau's story. All of these books follow a small town romance. Some of them have some sports romance if you want to include rodeo as a sport. I do, so sports romance. Save a horse, ride a cowboy, and it's all just great. It's great, it's fun. All of the men and female leads in this series are absolutely fantastic, and I definitely have a favorite. If you can guess, go ahead. But it's Heartless. This one, it just gets me in my feels, okay? I'm really excited to do a reread once the series is over and I have come to the end of it, because I will need these characters back in my life ASAP. But if you are looking to pick up the series and do it in order, the first book is Flawless. This one follows Rhett and Summer. Please tell me I'm right with that. We're just going to go with Rhett and Summer. She ends up being his kind of like babysitter, because he ends up doing something that makes him look bad in the eyes of his sponsors. So she ends up coming to like babysit him, keep him out of trouble, and they end up falling into a relationship from there. But my favorite book in the series, if you want to jump and move to something different, is Heartless. This one follows Willa and Cade. Cade is in the need for a nanny, and Willa, who has never had any nanny experience in her life, comes in to be his live-in nanny, and it is a relationship between the two of them, but also a single dad romance. And it's just so good. It's so good. Trust me, just do it. That being said, the other two books in the series are really good. This one is a contender for my next favorite book in the series, Powerless. This is a sports romance, second chance, friends to lovers situation. It's so fantastic. Please read it. And then this one is I don't want to say the trope, because I feel like it scares everybody off, but this is a surprise baby, one night stand romance, and I really enjoyed this one. So that's the series, but let's move on to something else. My cheeks hurt because I feel like all I've been doing in this video is smiling, which is my favorite thing to do when talking about books. But the next series that I want to talk about is the Boys of Belrose series. Now, I have talked about openly that this is not my favorite Take James series that I have read, but I still think that it is so fun, and I'm finding myself constantly thinking about this series as time goes on. This is a white shoes mafia style rock star romance, and it was just so much fun. The first book definitely kicks off with a bang, and they all have cliffhangers. This is co-written by James and Eve, so it is a definitely like fun, fast-paced series. It's not my favorite, like I said, by Take James, but I feel like something magical was done here, and I'm not gonna complain. I don't want to go into more of the synopsis of this one. It's kind of hard to explain and a lot to talk about, but I feel like if you are looking for a good rock star white shoes romance, this is definitely a good place to start. And if you have already read some, I still think that you would get a lot out of this. It is very fun. It does have some triggers, so check the trigger warnings if you want to go into this series. There is a enemies to lovers romance, kind of like a cinnamon bun character in here as well. So go in with some fun times in mind, and I don't say don't judge it too harshly, but I think that you're definitely going to have a good time, and I definitely did. And this one is definitely one that I've been thinking about a lot more as I have let it sit in the back of my mind. Currently, my legs are falling asleep, so thank you for that. The next series, actually the last and final series that I want to talk about before we get into like the one-off books, is the Eden series by Devney Perry. This is also another small-town romance with cowboys, so if you are in the mood for that, I feel like these are definitely the ones for you. I have absolutely loved the series so far. That being said, I have not read Garnet Flats just yet, but I have read the Christmas and Quincy book, as well as Juniper Hill and Indigo Ridge, and I love them very much. I've heard less than flattering things about Garnet Flats, but I'm still very excited to get into it. If you are looking for something that has a little bit more romantic suspense than just a regular small town romance, this is definitely the series for you. And I've just loved these characters so much. The second book, Juniper Hill, follows Knox and his love interest, and I just had the best time with this freaking cook. He was just so sweet, but he was also so dirty in the bedroom, and overall I just really love this series so much, and every time I think about it, it brings back a smile to my face. So I'm really hoping to move on with the series and finish it up relatively soon, but if you haven't picked it up already, definitely do so. Alrighty, let's talk about my little one-offs that I have here. Just a few more left. Let's just get out of the way. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Everybody and their mother is talking about it, and for me, it is for good reason. I love this book so much. It is definitely a book that has stuck in my mind, and I think about it every day. Not once a week, not once a month, every day I think about it. It is so good. Now I know, not everyone thinks it's great, Okay, I've heard a lot of criticisms, and I would say that I get it, but I don't, okay? I would take no criticisms on this book. It is phenomenal, it's fantastic, it is wonderful, it's amazing. I was supposed to do a reread last month. I didn't get around to it, but I really need to before the release of Iron Flame, which comes out in November, and I'm just so excited. I'm so excited. I hope that you are excited. If you haven't read it yet, please do pick it up, and I hope that you love it just as much as I did. I didn't even explain the synopsis for those of you that don't know. Where have you been? But this follows Violet Sorrengail, who wants to be a scribe, and she's going into the scribe quadrant, but she finds out day of that she has to go into the writer's quadrant, to learn how to ride dragons, because her entire family of Sorrengails has been a dragon rider, and so her mother forces her to go into this, but it's a very, very dangerous place to be. Just training to be a dragon rider and being chosen by dragons is a very dangerous place. People are dying left and right, and Violet is very frail. She has frail bones from a chronic illness that she has, and so she is the least likely person to survive this, but she goes in with every expectation of knowing that this is dangerous, but she is willing to prove everybody wrong, and she does. And it is a fantastic fantasy romance, and I just loved it so much. You have a absolutely swoon-worthy male lead that I'm just so excited to see where the story continues, and the fantasy aspect in here just blew me away. I had so much fun with it, and I cannot wait to continue on with this story. All right, up next, just because it was next to me, let's talk about Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Don't get me wrong, I could have included Part of Your World in this video as well, but I read that a little bit ago, and it's kind of removed from my brain the details, but this one I just read, and I am absolutely obsessed with this. This one is a fake dating romance between Brianna and Jacob. They both work in the same hospital, and they end up running into each other and having a kind of negative interaction with each other at the very beginning, and Jacob, as an apology, starts to write her a letter to apologize and kind of explain how his anxiety kind of makes it harder for him to have social interactions with those around him. And through that letter that he writes, they end up writing back and forth with each other via letters. And it's not the entire book. They don't letter write without the entire book, but it's definitely a jumping point to their relationship, and it becomes a fake dating relationship from there. And it is just so sweet and so beautiful and just so amazing. The mental health rep in here was absolutely incredible. There's also some rep in here for kidney failure, so if that's something that is triggering for you, please know that going in. But it was just such a wonderful, wonderful story. I love it so much. The two characters just were so incredible together, so much on-page chemistry, and I just had such a fun time with it. I cannot wait to continue on with more Abby Jimenez books in the future, but this is definitely one that is high on my favorites list. Okay, let's go dark and then end off as sweet. That's Sick Love by Jessie Hall. I feel like I talked about this one in many videos recently, but it truly, truly just like blew me away. I read Haunting Adeline right before I read this one, and I really enjoyed that one, don't get me wrong, but this one was a full 5 out of 5 stars. It was dark, it was disturbing, it was deliciously sexy in all the ways that I could have wanted, and more. This one follows Bryony, and she lives in a very religious environment. She's grown up around church her entire life, and she's definitely very blind to the injustices going on around her. But Arrow is her stalker, and he's determined to open her up and help her see what's really going on around her and the part that she plays in it. And after that, she is like, all right, show me the dark side, and I'm willing to follow you into it and learn a little bit more about how I can get revenge on the people that have slighted me. And it is definitely a dark read. Please, please, please check your trigger warnings. But it was so much fun. It was so sexy, and it was everything that I could have wanted from this story. It's unhinged, to say the least, and I don't want this in a romantic partner in the slightest, but I had so much fun reading this book, and it's definitely one that I think about quite often, and a reread is imminent for sure. Second to last, I'm going to talk about That Kind of Guy by Stephanie Archer. This is the first book in a series, and this is another fake dating romance. This one follows Avery and Emmett. Avery has just had a wonderful opportunity opened up for her to buy the restaurant that she's been working at for several years and is deeply in love with. However, when she goes to the bank, she finds out that she cannot buy the restaurant because she cannot get a loan. Enters Emmett. Emmett is trying to run for mayor, but the town is letting him know that he doesn't seem very trustworthy because he doesn't have a solid relationship, which is a foundation for running as a mayor, apparently. So he convinces Avery, who doesn't like him very much, to fake date him, then to fake engage him, and then fake marry him. It is a fun time. It was so much fun. It's quirky, it's sweet, it's cute. It's a small town romance with the great quirky vibes that all small town romances should have. There's a lot of gossip and a lot of small talk, and then everyone knows everybody, so it's just, the rumor mill is constantly running, and it was just so freaking cute. The two characters really did not like each other at the beginning, but they just learned to love each other in the end, and it was just such a fun, fast-paced read. I'm definitely excited to move on with the rest of the series as the audiobooks continue to be released, and I really think this one is one that you guys are going to love. Plus the covers, So cute. And the very last book I want to talk about today is Love Light Farms by B.K. Borison. I just recently read this one, and even though it is slightly out of season, I had such a great time with it. This one follows another fake dating story, but it is a friends to lovers fake dating story where the main character signs up for a contest that helps bring a social media presence to her farm. A very renowned social media traveler ends up coming to her town because she won the contest, but in her paperwork she said that she owned this farm with her boyfriend, and that's how they started. Unfortunately for her, she doesn't have a boyfriend, and so she ends up asking her best friend, who she's had a crush on for many years, to be her fake boyfriend, and it is a relationship between the two of them. It is so sweet, it is so cute. Again, you have the very wholesome and sweet small town vibes, but also just a absolutely fantastic and wonderful friends to lovers romance, one of the best I have read to date. And if you are looking for a fun, sweet romance, this is definitely one. I also feel like you can definitely read this one out of season, because even though it does happen at a Christmas tree farm, it doesn't have too much Christmas involved in it. Overall, it's just a very sweet, wonderful romance, and it's one that I had so much fun with and I'm absolutely obsessed with right now. Alrighty friends, that is all the books that I wanted to talk about in this video, where I talk about books that I'm absolutely obsessed with. I would love to know down below if you've read any of these books and if you feel the same about them that I do. Also, feel free to share down below books that you are currently obsessed with. I would love to get some more recommendations in the comments below. That is the end of this video though. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and of course leave any comments, questions, and suggestions in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Thanks, baby. Turn it down like a sweet and ready. Keep it nice and steady.